Life growing up was quite challenging. I sort of split my life into 3 decades. That's how I think about it. So the first decade was basically health struggles, from sort of sickness as a baby, into deafness as a baby, into kidney failure as a young child, nearly dying at age 5.5. Yeah, it was just like constant worry, concern for myself, for my family, and a pretty hard start in the first decade. Part of it wasn't just the health challenges, I think. Part of it was also driven by when I left hospital, my parents also broke up on the same day, and I didn't really understand what that meant. I was like, I'm going with my dad and then my mum's coming later, as in like mum's got to work or do something else. And then it was like, no, you're staying with your dad. And obviously then I soon realised that they were properly breaking up. Even in the period of a couple of months, I had kidney failure, almost dying. And the same day I left hospital and I was joining a new school. And so I think when I went into the second decade, I thought to myself, well, my brother was extremely bright. I thought to myself, I've got something to prove that, I think part of it felt like maybe I might be loved more if I excel. Yeah, maybe the parents would like respect me, love me if I was excelling, because obviously the way I saw it as a young child was I was always like this sort of casualty that they were carrying around. The second was obviously built from the struggle of the first, but the second I felt like was just a period of acceleration. I thought that everything was like on steroids. It seemed like, the activities and school became so much easier. I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class within 3 months. So I'd been pretty much a decade at the bottom. In 3 months, I was at the top, and it was just like, this is weird. And my first ever subject was French, in fact, where I came top of the year. And it gave me a lot of belief that, I could really do something here. And the second, decade was just everything started to become possible. When I grew up, I always thought, I wouldn't do this. I'm not enough. I'm not capable. I'm maybe not like my brother. I'm different. I'm the black sheep. All these thoughts went in my head all the time, every day, maybe even sometimes 10, 20 times a day. But the second decade, I thought, wow, this is what it's like to be just normal, I think is how I termed it. It was exciting. I was like, wow, you can hear what people say and you can remember and you can study and you can perform and you can excel, and wow, like this is really cool. And then obviously I thought to myself, university is now possible. Whereas when I was leaving school, there was the idea of going to school and then maybe going to university, and that seemed really far-fetched before I had the operation. But that seemed very possible. Dan Priestley, I think, was the first person I heard talk about it. He mentioned the Chinese cup philosophy is that you need to have space in order for creative ideas to come to the fore. He mentioned the practice of filling up his cup and emptying the cup by writing a book. And then it created space for creative ideas and inspiration to come to him as a result of putting his ideas down on paper and obviously publishing a book. And then he said, as soon as I publish the book, it's out of date and I need to update it. He said, that's really what happens in life, is that you write things, you review it, you think it can be better, it can be improved. But I really like the analogy of like shipping things quickly, iterating on them, improving on them. I always talk about V1 and shipping V1 early. So yeah, I like the Chinese cup. Imposter syndrome for me often shows up when you want to sort of outsource the accountability, the responsibility. So you think, I shouldn't be doing this, or this is not for me. I'm not capable enough of doing this. Someone else should work this out. This shouldn't be my responsibility. And I think a couple of the areas I think every entrepreneur should take accountability, especially in the early stages, is around finances and marketing. You have people that support you in terms of like the bookkeeper, the accountant, but making decisions that have financial repercussions is the responsibility of the entrepreneur and the founder. I think at times I thought either I would gamble and say, right, we can kind of make this happen. Sometimes that paid off, but it was also negligence in terms of diligence and taking accountability and responsibility for it. But yeah, sometimes I thought to myself, I shouldn't be doing this, or I can't do this. I'm not made for this. This isn't what I sign up for. But then you realize that no one else is coming to save you and you've got to do it yourself. That's quite enlightening when you understand it. and you understand the importance of cash flow is a good example, that delaying something a month or so forth can have really amazing impact as well. Just trying to accrue the spend when the action is done is a key lesson I learned as well.